You just spent 30 seconds deciding whether to watch this video. 30 seconds you'll never get back. Not because I took them, because that's how time works. It's the only currency you spend without knowing your balance, can never earn more of, and lose whether you use it or waste it. The person in this story wasted 15 years, not on bad things, on nothing. Scrolling, waiting, procrastinating, promising tomorrow, until one conversation made them realize time isn't something you have, it's something you're spending right now, every second, and you can't get a refund. This story will make you see every moment differently, starting with this one. Now, I need you to understand why this video matters. This will show you why time is the only resource that truly matters and why you're probably wasting it without realizing. Most productivity advice tells you to use time wisely without showing you what that actually means. This reveals that wasting time isn't about being lazy, it's about living unconsciously. You'll learn why every moment you're not intentional about is a moment you're giving away, and how to stop trading your irreplaceable hours for things that don't matter. So let me tell you about Daniel. He's 40 years old, middle manager at a tech company, decent salary, nice enough apartment, no major complaints, but also no major excitement, no passion, no purpose driving him out of bed in the morning, just existence, routine. Wake up, work, eat, watch TV, sleep. Weekends bled into weekdays, months into years, and Daniel barely noticed because nothing was wrong. It was just empty, like living in a house with all the furniture but no people. Everything looked fine, but nothing felt alive. He'd scroll social media for hours. Not because he enjoyed it, not because he was connecting with anyone, just because it was there. His thumb would move almost automatically. Scroll, 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 looking at lives of people he barely knew, living experiences he'd never have, watch shows he'd forget by morning, entire seasons consumed in weekends. And when people asked what the show was about, he'd struggle to remember. Promise himself he'd start that project tomorrow, learn guitar, write that book he'd been talking about for 5 years. Travel somewhere meaningful instead of just talking about it. Tomorrow became next week became next year became never. His friends from college were living differently, taking risks, building businesses, creating art, traveling, making memories, and Daniel felt this low-grade guilt, this nagging voice saying, "You're wasting your life." But he'd bury it under more scrolling, more TV, more "I'll get to it eventually." He wasn't depressed, not in the clinical sense. He was numb, comfortably numb, which is the most dangerous kind of numb because there's no crisis forcing change, no rock bottom demanding action, just this slow fade into irrelevance, into a life that looks fine from the outside but feels hollow from the inside. The wake-up call came at his father's funeral. Daniel was 41, his father was 73. And at the reception after the service, Daniel overheard his uncle talking to someone saying, "Tom lived a full life." And Daniel was standing there with a plate of food he wasn't eating, and he thought, that's not true. That's not true at all. His father had retired at 65 with all these dreams, travel, hobbies, time with grandkids, building things in his workshop. But instead he watched TV, complained about his back, his knees, his energy, waited for when he felt better, when the weather was right, when he had more energy. 8 years later, he died. Dreams in a box labeled someday. Time wasted. Life unlived. And Daniel had this horrifying realization standing there in that funeral home. I'm becoming him. I'm doing exactly what he did. Waiting, promising tomorrow, living like I have forever. And if I die at 73 like he did, I have 32 years left. 32 years. And if I keep living this way, scrolling and zoning out and promising eventually, they'll be just as empty as his last 8. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep, kept thinking about his father's workshop, full of tools and materials for projects that never got started, full of intentions that never became actions, and he wondered how many of his own intentions would die with him, how many things he'd been meaning to do would never get done. And he realized most of them, most of his dreams would die as ideas because he kept trading today for the fantasy of tomorrow. So he did something he'd never done. He audited his time, sat down with a notebook, and mapped out a typical week. hour by hour. Where does my time actually go? And the results were devastating. Work, 50 hours. Sleep, 49 hours. Eating, showering, basic hygiene, 10 hours. That left 59 hours. 59 hours of actual life, of conscious choice, of time that it was his to spend however he wanted. But where did it go? Social media, 14 hours a week. Just scrolling. Not creating, not connecting, just consuming other people's lives. TV and streaming, 18 hours. Shows he barely enjoyed, that he watched not because they were good, but because they were on. Because it was easier than doing something intentional. Relaxing. That's what he called it. But really, it was just zoning out, 10 hours. Staring at nothing, thinking about nothing. Actual intentional living, pursuing something meaningful, creating memories, building something. 5 hours. 5 hours a week out of 59. Less than 1 hour a day, less than 4% of his conscious time. He wasn't living, he was killing time. And time, when you kill it, it dies. But so do you. Slowly, imperceptibly. You just don't get a funeral for it. You get to 73 with a workshop full of intentions and nothing to show for the hours you were given. Daniel made another list. What do I want to remember on my deathbed? And he wrote it down. Travel, seeing things that took his breath away, deep conversations with people he loved, creating something, a book, art, something that would exist after he was gone, learning things that expanded his mind, being present with people instead of scrolling next to them. Then he compared it to his actual schedule, his actual life. Zero alignment. He was spending 95% of his time on things that wouldn't matter at 80, on things that future Daniel, deathbed Daniel, would resent him for choosing.
That weekend, Daniel tried something radical. One day without wasting time. No mindless scrolling, no TV he didn't truly want to watch, only intentional choices. He went for a hike, something he'd been meaning to do for literally years. There was a trail 20 minutes from his apartment he'd driven past 1,000 times thinking, I should do that sometime. He did it. Called his sister, not a text, an actual phone call, and they talked for an hour. Real conversation, not updates, not surface, real. Started reading a book that actually challenged him instead of just entertained him. By evening, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Aliveness. Like he'd actually lived that day instead of just let it pass by him. And the day felt longer, not boring long, rich long, full, like he packed a week into a day. And he realized time expands when you're present and collapses when you're numb. A numb decade feels like a year in memory, just a blur. But an intentional day feels like a week, has texture, has moments, has meaning. 3 years later, Daniel is 44. His life looks similar externally, same job, same apartment, same city. But internally, everything is different. He tracks his intentional hours now, aims for 20 per week, time spent on things that align with his deathbed list. Some weeks he hits 10, some weeks 30, but he's conscious now, awake, making choices instead of drifting. He's traveled to 8 countries, saved money, took time off, saw things that changed how he sees the world, learned Spanish, not fluently, but conversationally, can connect with millions of people he couldn't before. Wrote a book, self-published, small readership, but it exists. His words in the world, his thoughts given form. That counts. Volunteers teaching kids to read every Tuesday evening. Has real friendships instead of 500 social media acquaintances he never actually talks to. And when people ask what changed, he says, I stopped living like I had forever. The paradox is his life got busier but feels less stressful. Because stress doesn't come from being busy. It comes from wasting time on things you know don't matter while avoiding things you know do. Intentional living is hard but peaceful. Unconscious living is easy but heavy. You carry the weight of all the things you're not doing, all the time you're wasting. That weight is heavier than any actual effort. Daniel tells people now, you think you're saving time by scrolling, zoning out, taking the easy path, but you're spending it on nothing. And the only time you'll realize how expensive nothing was is when you run out of time to buy something real. So what did Daniel actually learn about the value of time? First truth, time isn't money, it's life. Money lost can be earned back. Time lost is gone forever. Every hour you waste is an hour of your life you traded for nothing. Daniel learned time isn't something you have, it's something you are. You are your hours. Your life is made of moments. Waste moments, waste life. It's that simple and that brutal. Second truth, wasting time isn't about laziness. It's about unconsciousness. Daniel wasn't lazy, he was unconscious, living on autopilot. Most time wasting isn't active procrastination. It's passive drifting. Scrolling not because you want to, but because you're bored. Watching shows not because they're good, but because they're on. Living by default, not design. Consciousness is the cure, not discipline. You don't need more willpower, you need more awareness. Third truth, I'll do it later is how dreams die. Later becomes never. Daniel spent 20 years saying, eventually, and eventually was just code for probably not. Future you doesn't have more time than present you. Future you just has less time and more regret. Do it now or admit you won't. At least honesty lets you grieve the dream instead of torturing yourself with someday. Fourth truth, your deathbed self is watching. Every choice you make is being recorded by the version of you who'll review your life at the end. That version doesn't care about comfort, convenience, avoiding discomfort. They care about meaning, memories, whether you were brave, whether you were present, whether you used your time or let it use you. Live for them, because eventually you'll be them, and they'll either thank you or resent you. So how do you actually stop wasting time? How do you live intentionally in a world designed to distract you? First practice, the time audit. This week, track every hour. Write it down. Where did your time actually go? Not where you wish it went, where it went. Most people are shocked. Think they waste 2 hours daily. It's actually 6. Awareness precedes change. You can't value what you don't measure. Second practice, the deathbed list. Write down, what do I want to remember on my deathbed? Travel, relationships, creativity, service, learning, building? Then compare it to your calendar. If there's no alignment, you're living someone else's life or no one's life. Adjust. 1 hour per week toward your list, then 3, then 10. Build toward alignment, because a life aligned with your values doesn't feel like a burden. It feels like purpose. Third practice, the intentional hour. Daily dedicate 1 hour to something that would matter at 80. Not productive, meaningful. Reading, creating, connecting deeply, learning, building. No phone, no distractions, just presence. 1 hour daily is 365 hours yearly. 2 full weeks of conscious living. That compounds. That creates a life worth remembering. Fourth practice, the would I remember this test. Before choosing how to spend time, ask, will I remember this in 5 years? If no, and you choose it anyway, you're consciously wasting time. Sometimes that's okay. Rest matters, zoning out matters, but make it conscious. Don't drift into oblivion pretending it's living. Daniel woke up at 40 realizing he'd wasted 15 years, and that realization, painful as it was, saved him. Because he still had 32 years to live intentionally. You have however many years you have. Could be 50, could be 5. Nobody knows their number, but you know this. Every day you waste is a day you'll never get back. Every hour spent unconsciously is an hour of your life you traded for nothing. Time isn't something you have, it's something you are. You are your hours. Your life is made of moments. Waste life. It's that simple and that brutal. Here's your truth. Say it with me. My time is my life, and I will not trade my life for things that don't matter. Say it again. Every hour is a choice. Every choice is a vote for the life I'll remember or the life I'll regret. One more time. I am awake now, and awake people don't waste their lives. If this woke you up, if something inside you said, yes, this is what I needed to hear, hit the like button. Not for me, for you. As a commitment, as a declaration that you're done wasting time. Drop a comment and tell me what's one thing you're wasting time on that you're stopping today. Make it real. Name it publicly. And subscribe for more reminders that your time is finite, precious, and yours to shape. Stop wasting it. Start living it. Your deathbed self is watching everything you do. Make them proud. Make them grateful. Make them say thank you for using our time well. Because eventually, you'll be them. And they deserve a life worth remembering.